Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. Andrea Earhart here, muralist, adventurer, and your host as I interview inspiring artists who are killing it in the art game to show you that it's completely possible to make a great living doing the thing you love to do. We highlight the business side of art to help you reach more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creative freedom. Enjoy the show. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process, from coming up with an idea to finding a wall to paint it on to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. And that's it, so let's get on with the show. This week's episode features surrealist painter Brady Willmott. And before you listen, please go check out his Instagram. There is a link in the notes section. It is Brady Willmott on Instagram. Go check it out to get a better idea of the type of art he creates. You're going to want to see his surrealist style for yourself. You will be missing out in this conversation if you do not go see this art. I found Brady on TikTok and was amazed just automatically by the unique approach to composition and subject and even the dramatic lighting he uses in his surrealist approach. I had to get to know him a bit and pick his brain to figure out how he does what he does and how he creates all the unique things that he creates. And we also talked about playing the long game. You guys hear me say that a lot. And Brady is a really great example of someone who is benefiting the longer he stays in this art game. And I hope all of that inspires you to stay in as well and keep doing your unique thing too. So let me know what you think about this week's episode with Brady Willmott. If you could just start out by introducing yourself a little bit, maybe tell us a little bit about who you are, what you paint, and all the things for the podcast listeners.
Okay, so I'm sure you just mentioned my name's Brady Willmott. I live in North County, San Diego. I went to school for art at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. I got out of school when you were still sending slides to galleries and got frustrated and tattooed for 17 years. And kind of slowly over the last, I guess starting in about 2013, I started kind of just showing at galleries a little bit here and there. And then just that slowly started taking over. And about 3.5 years ago, that started going better and better. So I quit my job completely full-time.
Full-time artist. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get into the style that, have you always painted like you do now? It's very surrealist, like just, I love it. And anybody that's on the podcast too, I would highly suggest you go check out Brady's Instagram because it's just so unique. So how did you land on that style?
I think for anybody, they're not going to start out with a particular style. I mean, if you go back to my sketchbooks from when I was a little kid, it was very influenced by skateboard art, which in the 80s was like a very punk rock, lots of skulls and that kind of stuff. I loved Pink Floyd, which was like, very kind of trippy art, and got into like the whole hot rod style of art, which is kind of like the rat paint style stuff, which is semi-surreal, I guess, but more kind of in your face, lowbrow type stuff. In college, my stuff really started turning more surreal, which was in the 90s. When I was tattooing, a style called New School was kind of becoming dominant. Maybe not dominant, but what I was interested in, and kind of transitioned well from the art that I was doing. And there's a lot of like, funky looking animals, and a lot of that influence you'll see in the style I'm doing. Yeah, so that's where you'll start seeing a lot of like the animals and stuff like that coming into my work. Actually, it was funny. One of my biggest collectors is in Northern California. It's like 8 hours away or so. And he was also someone that was getting tattooed by me. And I had to deliver a painting up there about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now. I got the chance to stop by his house, and he had a painting of mine from 2006 when I was maybe doing like 2 paintings a year then. And it was funny because that was probably one of the first paintings where you really see my style coming into play, and where it really like looks like what I'm doing now, or maybe a year ago.
Okay. And you said you created that when?
2006.
Okay. So you had been doing art for a while, and then you kind of doing a bunch of different styles, or just kind of like all in the same style, but...
I mean, it's not like, if you look at my art since I was, born, basically, it all kind of comes in increments. There's nothing like radically different.
No like floral paintings or anything.
There's random stuff thrown in that I do for exercises. I'll go out and plein air paint once in a while, or, go to do figure painting classes or whatever. All that kind of stuff makes your art stronger, but that's kind of more for exercise, But everything's kind of a transformation of the last thing I've done. And that's kind of how you build style, is over time. You don't, nobody starts off with the exact style that they settle on. Mm-hmm. Long answer.
No, I love it. I love long answers. So, okay, so how did you land on your style, though? Were you just like listening to an inner voice, or how, like, were you looking at other people's stuff and being like, oh, maybe I could do clouds, and then a boat, and then a mouse rolling a boat, or a mouse with antlers? Like, where did you just like get lost in your own sketchbook, or is it coming from other people? Like, how do you find your style?
I wouldn't even say I've landed on a style. I think I'm still, every painting I try to grow from, and, my next painting is going to be better than my last painting, no matter what. So with each painting, I see the flaws, and then, next time it's going to be better. I'm always looking at artwork, and there's always something I'm interested in. I really love Renaissance art and Baroque art. I'm always looking at what my contemporary artists are doing, and seeing what's going on. I'm always, well, not right now, but always out and going to shows, and just trying to be present and paying attention,
Yeah. How are you finding these collectors, or how are you finding these buyers? Is it mostly shows, or on internet, or
a little of everything? A big part of being an artist is being in as many places as you can. People don't come out of the woodwork. You got to jump out at them, and what do we get? 7 people online? Probably none of them are going to buy a painting, but maybe one will buy a print, and then 10 years down the line, they'll be looking at that print and say, wow, I didn't have a lot of money back then, but now I'm, the CEO at my company, and I've always liked that print. Okay, now I've got $300,000 a year to spend, and I'm going to buy one of those paintings. You've always got to be thinking ahead like that. So
yeah, it's such a long game.
Yeah, every single person you meet, you got to be friendly to. I know so many artists that they judge whether people are going to buy a painting the second they walk in the door. I actually had someone tell me that. I've been trying to work more like convention style shows where, you set up a booth and, 100,000 people are going to walk through, instead of a gallery where 50 people walk through. And I had a guy in a booth next to me say, I can tell, the second they walk up if they're going to buy something or not. So I don't even bother talking to them. I'm like, that's a terrible attitude.
Yeah.
I can tell that if I talk to every single one of these people, 5,000 people a day or 10,000 people a day, then my odds of 20 of them somewhere in the next 5 years buying something from me is good. And if I do 5 conventions a year and 100 people buy something in the next 5 years, that's a big chunk of my income, right there.
Yeah. Do you find that most people are following you online or on your email list or anything like for a while before they buy, or what do you think?
I think for art buyers, it's a long game. I know when I buy art, I've usually been following the artist for a while. Unless it's like a charity event, I've almost never spontaneously bought art. Like my two biggest purchases were a Jeff Gogwe and a Jeremy Fish, those are like my two like purchases that were several $1,000s, and both of those were artists I've been following for years and I loved. And, I had to take a deep breath before I spent the money because I'm an artist. That's a ton of money for me,
Yeah.
It's like, and this is not a career to get rich off of. It's a career of passion. And, when I bought those pieces, I was not making what I'm making now. So, I assume that a lot of people are like that. The piece that I was talking about earlier that I drove 8 hours up to Northern California and I got to see my other collector, that was the biggest piece I've ever sold. And he actually bought 3 pieces
Oh, wow,
right off the
that's
bat
huge.
from me. So yeah, he just remodeled his house and he was like, it's echoing in here. There's nothing on the walls. So that was great, And then, it just seems like the more art you have out there, the more people are going to be seeing it.
It's such a long game. And I love that you're buying other people's art as well, because I buy a lot of like my students' artwork and just of artists that I really like and follow on Instagram typically. And if they're having a sale or if there's something happens where they create an art piece that I absolutely love, I'll buy it. And I don't think that's very common with a lot of artists, or at least a lot of like new artists. So I just want to point out that you do that. You buy art from other artists because you like it. And I think I think of it as a little bit of, it's hard for me to justify, telling everybody, hey, buy my art, look at my stuff, when like I'm not an art buyer as well. And so I feel like like buying art is a little bit of giving back a little bit into like the art world, as it's giving so much to me, and, just decorating your home, but also just owning something from another artist. I love that you buy art as well.
Well, also, it gives you a chance to really live with an artist that you admire's art on your walls and really pick it apart, I mean, every ounce of technique you can steal from other people is huge, I wake up every morning looking at this one painting and I'm always seeing little pieces of technique in it, maybe it's not like subject matter wise something I would never do, but like I can stare at it and I can see the way he layered it and glazed it. And, I've been staring at it for probably 10 years straight now next to my bed every day when I wake up. And I can just, at this point, I've picked apart the way he layered every layer of paint on that painting. There's just things like that about owning artwork that's invaluable, and as well as giving back, but owning the artwork is different than walking by it in a gallery. And it was the same thing when I was tattooing. I didn't mind spending a ton of money getting tattooed by the best tattooers in the world because I'm there getting tattooed and I'm stealing their techniques.
Yeah.
It's an investment in learning.
Oh yeah, I remember anytime I'm in a museum and whatnot, I'm always thinking, I'm like, just you get really close to it, like you get up there and you really look at it, and I always think, I'm like, man, you can see so much more in person than you can in a photo. And I always, I mean, anytime I go to a museum, I always pick out one and I'm like, oh, I wish I could take that one home and just copy it and just like have my canvas here and have that one right here. That way you can look at it and see it and copy it and just learn in that way. Because you're right, there's so much more that you could see when it's in person, and you can get like within an inch of your face.
Yeah, and I know there's like tons of Mark Ryden fans out there, but if you've and I like Mark Ryden's work. Probably 6 years ago now, I got to go and see a show of his in person, and it was probably the last time there was a show this big of his that had like tons of his masterpieces all in one place. And it was honestly his work in person compared to in the books it's an insane difference. Like I can't even explain it. Like if you ever get a chance to go see it in person, do it, because there's just no comparison. Like, yeah, it's cool when you see a print or the books, but there's just no comparison. Like, so go see it if you can.
Yeah.
Even if it's one piece.
You make me want to go to a museum and hang out for the day. I think that's...
And the other fun thing about museums is I love just going and watching the people, because there's the people that are just like going just to pretend they have a cultural experience and sitting on the benches. And then there's like the art students that are going and drawing to copy the paintings, but they're kind of half interested. And then there's the people like me that are getting told to stand back because my nose is touching the painting.
Yeah, sir, do not touch the painting.
Yeah, especially not with your nose.
So I'm still stuck on like where you find your inspiration. Do you have a sketchbook that you jot little things down in, and like how do you come? So the one behind you, how do you come up with that design? How long did it take you to paint it?
So that design, very well planned out. Actually, was on the Louvre's website and just kind of picking through a lot of old like church paintings and stuff, and kind of stealing compositional ideas. And then COVID hit, and there's just all these conspiracy theories flying around. And I don't know if you remember that well, the beginning of it, but people were just saying all kinds of hilarious stuff like, oh, the Democrats are inventing a disease to rig the election, just like this ridiculous stuff. And so there's a lot of just like, I don't know if people can see it or not, but I kind of identify with this little goat in the corner, just sitting back and watching everything. And I got all this kind of religious imagery with its cherubs up there, and the guiding light is the TV shining down all the misinformation on everybody. And then the little kind of angel. Originally, I had wings on the little angel figure in back of the rusty car full of dead sheep, but I just didn't like the way the wings looked, so I scrapped them. And then all the animals are kind of running around taking back over. So it's kind of fun and whimsical, but loaded with lots of little hidden undertones. I don't think I can get a good angle on it with the lights in here, but so you have to go on my page and check it out.
Yeah.
But
and also, how do you get reference photos for that?
Well, I try to take as much as I can for reference photos. Like that's my dog in the corner there. For the girl in the car, I had a friend who was pregnant. I had a bunch of reference photos of chickens that I took last time I was in Vermont, which was years ago. I took tons of photos of chickens. There's a bunch of rabbits around here that I've tried to take photos of, but I can never really quite get them. So those are burned pretty well in my mind. Some of the stuff I have to just supplement from photos offline, which I do my best not to do. But when I do that, I try to take, at least 3 photos and sketch from them. So it's not just copying one image.
Yeah. And so also the lighting is very dramatic in your paintings mostly. And like, I feel like that would be just such a chore to get a reference photo, but the lighting is, I'm sure, rarely exactly what you need.
No, a lot of that stuff I'm just kind of inventing it, like the composition and the clouds and the cherubs. Part of the composition I stole for from one of the paintings had kind of the similar break in the clouds, a little different. There was I don't know, probably 30 cherubs all in the clouds, and the clouds kind of the whole painting.
Yeah.
The clouds came all the way up here, and there was just angels and cherubs all the way to the front of the painting. So a lot of that light source was something I copied. It was just rays coming down. There was no TV there, obviously, because they didn't have TVs in the 15 or 1600s. So
Okay.
some of that light source helped.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so what is something you don't like to paint without?
Something I don't like to paint without? Paint? Brushes?
What kind of paint do you use?
I use Gamblin. They've been very nice to me over the last few years.
Yeah.
I was already using them mostly. Had a few colors from other companies, but yeah, we hooked up a couple of years ago and not holding my mic properly. Yeah, and they've been helping me out. So just been using them.
Great. How much do your paintings sell for on your prints versus your originals? And how much time does it take to paint them?
So something like this is probably, I'd say, between 150 and 200 hours, and I've got it priced at 6,500.
Okay.
So it's still not a huge profit margin for me, but hopefully can make up some of that in the prints. And then the other thing with paintings is, some of them will sell right off the easel, and then some of them, you might sit on for years, or some of them will go right away. It's hard to tell. They're going faster and faster, which is a good sign. I was actually just last night I went around and counted how many I had left, and there's a lot less than I thought. So
oh, good.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. I think I was down to like 32 paintings or something like that.
32 paintings. Okay, so you have 32 originals there with you.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, and
yeah,
I love that. I love that you say that too, because a lot of people, especially beginner artists, whenever you're first starting out and like beginner artists will have 10 paintings and they sell 2 and they're like, I have so many paintings just hanging out here, and it's like, you're in this with the long game. Like,
yeah,
they'll sell eventually, and if they don't, like, make some prints out of it.
Yeah, no, and it was, I think last time I counted, I had like 50 something paintings just sitting around.
Wow. Oh, I love that you're sharing that, though.
And yeah, and then it's like, and I'm constantly making more. So it's not like, and it's hard to say, maybe that will build back up. I'm sure it's going to ebb and flow a little bit over time, but, you always hope that you'll get rid of more and more of them, and it'll be harder to keep stock, and you can just start, making the money off the prints or whatever. But that's the thing with art, is you just don't know where the market's going to be. I know really experienced artists that can't move their work at all. Some artists just can't stop selling it off the easel and can never make enough. So it's just hard to say.
Yeah, it is tough to say. So I found you on TikTok. That's originally where I found you. I saw your video and I was like, I gotta meet this guy. I loved it. And it's kind of like you're saying, like, it's hard to move. Some artists, I'm finding a lot that it's sometimes some much older artists that are having trouble, like, getting stuff off of their easel, and it's sometimes, not all the time, but just in recent experience, but it's the artists who are really investing in social media and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that are, have a one-up on them, because more people are seeing your stuff here lately. And I found you on TikTok, and your following is definitely growing on there.
It's funny because I had no idea TikTok was even going to work. I had in January, I was doing this 24-hour event, and one of the other artists there, he's huge on Instagram. He's got like 130,000 followers on Instagram. And I've always done Instagram, but I never seemed to get much traction on there. I did fine, but, it's got my tattoo career. So I think half the people are there for my tattooing and half are there for my art. I think there's 8,000 people on there or something.
Yeah.
And so in January, we did that 24-hour event, and he convinced me to go on TikTok, which I just thought was like, little kids dancing.
Yeah.
And
nope.
And then, so he went on in like December, and I went on in January. And I think I'm already have twice as many people on there as Instagram. And was it 10 months in as I have in like probably 7 years or 8 years on Instagram. And, I might get 2,000 views on a video on Instagram, and I think my last video on TikTok got like over 100,000 views or something. So it's just Yeah, it's just it seems like such a better, way more accessible platform, maybe, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, the algorithm is definitely in our favor. And I think just being artists as well, that those platforms are so visual and just so meant for us. Are you putting your TikTok videos on Instagram Reels now too?
I'm kind of doing everything but ignoring Instagram now. I don't have a lot of time for social media. I've been in the process of rebuilding my website, I'm having someone rebuild it, but it's still work for me. Plus I'm, seeking out and applying for shows, and I've been painting those 5 little paintings for a show that I got to drop off probably tomorrow, and then have another show going on right now that's up right now.
Take your best performing TikTok, your best one, and then post it on Instagram Reels, and just repost it. It takes 5 minutes, and watch the magic happen. And it's in that first video that you do where Instagram Reels decides if you're a good creator and it wants to show all your things. Take your best one from TikTok, repost it on Instagram Reels with the TikTok thing and everything, and watch it go crazy. It's the
I'll
thing.
have to look at what Instagram Reels is.
Yeah, and you just Google how to do it. Really, it's really easy. It's just like posting, but a little different. So just make sure you go to the Reels option, and yeah, it's great.
I'll do that when we get off, because I know it's like still important. And then I still do Facebook, but just for more for the art groups and stuff, because you can still find out about shows and what's happening on there. But yeah, they really don't put the odds in your favor on Facebook.
No, yeah, that's the mothership of it all.
Yeah.
So what are your studio habits like? So you're painting in the studio a lot, 100 hours per painting sometimes. And what are your studio habits like? When are you painting? How many hours a day are you painting?
It just depends on, when I have a big painting like this going, I might do, 5 hours a day, 3 days a week. And then I usually have a few smaller side projects going. Like this, when I had this one going, I did, I think I did 4 or 5 other smaller paintings at the same time. I did a commission for a fishing lure company. So I have a set of custom fishing lures out, which, just some random stuff like that.
Cool.
I can't remember what else I did at the same time, but there's just always something going on. So it's hard to just concentrate on something this big 7 days a week. And then just randomly, I got the 2 biggest commissions I've ever had came in the same week. I spent 2 months straight working on those, probably 40 plus hours a week for 2 months. And then I had to take a little time off because my dog had to have surgery. So that was kind of took the hours down a little bit. He was
life.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, congrats. And that's just another thing, how staying in it you're in the long game. You've been in it for so long, and you just now got your 2 biggest commissions. It's just good things come to those who wait and stay in it. And yeah, you're doing it. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I hadn't been taking commissions because I was always so busy trying to get into shows, doing so many group shows. I was doing 30 plus a year for the last 3 years. And then I was actually planning to step back a little this year anyway from that and just do more bigger art like this. And then it was forced anyway. So
yeah. Cool. Well, that's, I have one more question for you. We have a lot of newbie artists listening. It's some more experienced, but there's a lot of artists who are still in their full-time job, and they're just not really sure where to start to get into this art career. And so they're listening for advice on things like that. And so what advice would you give to artists who want to make art their full-time career, but just don't know where to start? What's a good starting point?
I guess the main things I would say is the biggest mistakes I see is people online bragging about being self-taught. Learn everything you can from everyone you can. There's no shame in learning from other people. Be present in your art community. Even if you're shy, go to shows, make it a goal to meet one person at every show you go to. Very shy. When I first started doing shows, I would literally sit in the corner and talk myself up. In my head, I would be saying, okay, if you want to make a career out of this, you're going to have to go talk to these people. And literally, like, to the point where it was almost out loud. If you want to do it, you need to talk to people.
Yeah.
And you can't, if it's not your show, you can't sell yourself to people, but you have to meet people and you have to learn how to talk to people. It's just part of it. If it feels awkward and forced at first, fine, so be it. It's not your show. You'll get used to it. It's just like anything else in the world. You didn't start off knowing how to draw and paint. You're not going to start off knowing how to talk to people. You'll figure it out, but you're not going to figure out by not doing it. But yeah, be around your art scene. Every museum has an artist alliance or an artist guild. It's going to be $50 a year to join or something. Join it. It goes towards the museum. You're going to meet a bunch of people that do art. It's going to get you into art shows. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people, if they say they're self-taught, it's like, oh, okay, so you learn from someone on YouTube. Then it's either you're learning from an institution, or you're learning from someone, or you're learning on YouTube from a video. Like, everybody's learning. I think it's just, a lot of people, they take a lot of pride in being self-taught, and I think if you are truly self-taught too, it takes you so much longer to learn that one trick that an artist could have just showed you really quick. Like, hey, if you glaze over this, it's going to save you so much time, rather than messing up and doing it again. And just, so.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than, like, I've taken classes, and I'll still probably in the future take classes at a place called Watts Atelier, where they'll come up, they'll take the pencil out of your hand and be like, no, do it like this. You're doing it wrong. They're rough, and if you got thin skin, it's not the place for you. But I'm not there to not learn. Like, I took a 8-week class there just in drawing hands and feet, probably 4 or 5 years ago, because I didn't feel like I was drawing hands and feet very well. I wanted to do it better.
Yeah. Always learning. I love that.
So don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared. We're all so introverted naturally, and just getting out there and doing the thing. Just do it. The world is not going to end if you go talk to a person. Okay, awesome. Well, this has been a great interview. I loved chatting with you about your art style, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch. The podcast is actually going to come out tomorrow, and I'll email you all the links and everything. But thank you so much for coming on here and just chatting with me about art.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process, from coming up with an idea to finding a wall to paint it on to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am Art by Andrea Earhart. I will gladly share your art on my Instagram story with a reach of over 60,000 as a thank you for helping us grow this Artist Academy community. And speaking of community, if you would like to be a part of our absolutely free and very encouraging community on social media, just head over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy, and I will see you next week.